Our This Week in XR podcast is sponsored by our friends at Zapper, the world's leading augmented reality platform and creative studio, with over 11 years of experience working with the world's biggest brands through Zapper Creative Studio. Zapper also has an award-winning web AR platform, ZapWorks, that lets you create your own mobile AR magic. Finally, check out their Zap Box, the most affordable mixed reality headset on the planet. Start creating AR over at zap.works or talk to them about your next AR project at zapper.com.
Got it.
Good morning, everyone. It's Friday, the 23rd of September. I'm Charlie Fink here with Ted Chilowitz for This Week in XR.
We're rolling into the fall now, Charlie. How has your fall been?
Yeah, well, I tell time by semester, you know.
Yeah, that's right, because you're a teacher.
The one class that I'm teaching is actually an 8-week class. They're on trimesters, and we started in the middle of August. So that class is actually almost at the end.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, it's like it's not even Halloween yet, and that class is almost
I won't go down that rabbit hole, but let me just say, to teach this topic, even in the broadest possible way, in 24 hours is more or less impossible.
Right.
And I talk fast. So anyway, let's get to the first bit of news. I don't know if it's a super big headline since everybody knows it, but the Pico 4 is being released next month in Europe, Japan, and Korea. Pretty big markets where, interestingly, the Quest does not have the biggest footprint, right? They're mostly big in the US. So I think that's kind of smart on their part. For those of you who don't remember, TikTok bought Pico, which was a headset that was used in Asia and in the US for enterprises, but, really like a fifth place company. And Pico, of course, ByteDance, of course, which purchased Pico, is the parent company of TikTok, which is.
Do you think it's somewhat telling that the two largest social media companies on the planet own the two most sort of vibrant VR ecosystems? Is there something telling about that in some fashion?
Yeah, probably, because if you go through the specs and the plans for Pico, if you look at their operating system and their home screen and their selection of software, it looks like Meta's.
Yeah, it's very similar, right? There's a lot of parallels. They're marketing the same game experiences. They're marketing the same social use cases. And the
price is the same.
Price is the same. The device seems very similar on specs, although the Pico seems to have a better screen technology.
Pico is a better, dollar for dollar, the Pico is a better headset.
Yeah.
The Quest is more developed. They have a bigger app store. Kudos to Pico for pulling together even the app store that they have. They have a lot of AAA titles. Right. It doesn't look that different than Meta's. What don't they have? Well, they don't have very well developed social VR. They're working on their own version of Horizon. Everything about it is like the Quest, but their biggest, obviously, social spaces are going to be ones that already exist, like VR Chat, which has very, very strong,
robust
international membership. So, I don't know. I think it's good for there to be more than one choice in the market.
Absolutely. I think when you talk to the developer community and the community in general, the idea of having viable competition with roughly the same specs, and of course we've got PlayStation nipping at everybody's heels with them just showing off at some trade shows now, and people getting very excited.
Supposed to be great. A tethered headset's supposed to be great because the PlayStation 5 is so powerful in terms of being just a graphics monster. So, I thought that was pretty interesting news. And of course, it comes as a moment when Meta is facing very strong headwinds, strong skepticism about whether they'll really be able to transition the revenue that the company had coming in from the social media business to the metaverse business. And of course, the recession is going to affect everybody, in particular tech companies, which won't be rolling in free cash the way they were last year.
Well, because of advertising pullback, right? So the recession has a direct effects on advertising.
But I do think it's interesting that Pico is taking the tens of billions of dollars that they're making in social media, money they've arguably stolen from Meta brands, right, and they're putting it to work in the metaverse also. It is a little crazy, but it shows you the power of VR to influence people's thinking about what the future is going to look like.
Absolutely. Really interesting.
So anyway, good luck to Pico. Congrats. And we have another kind of interesting take on XR that raised $15 million this week, Brilliant, which offers, I don't know what else to call it, but an immersive monitor, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of a 180-degree thing you kind of lean into. It's super high resolution.
Mhm.
And of course, there's no friction. You just use it like a regular monitor, which you know how I hate friction. So I think there's something to this, I think, particularly for PC gamers.
Yeah, this is a good step. As we were mentioned when we were doing before our starting recording, I'm involved in an accelerator down in San Diego that was an early investor and supporter of this. So I've seen the tech a number of times, I've tested it. It works. You basically tuck your head into the thing and
Yeah.
it surrounds you, sort of like, the big curved IMAX theaters. And
Mhm.
you sit up close enough in that theater, you kind of can't see the edges of the screen, right? This is like a miniature version of that. So it's great for design work. It's great for kind of immersive, like you don't want any distractions and you want to be inside that world. I think automotive is going to adopt it a lot. People that really need to look at what something will feel like in the real world, but don't want to wear a headset to do that.
Well, also, there are a lot of professions, again, you mentioned design, where you're going to dip in and out.
Right.
Right. And this is a really easy, fast way to do that. You don't have a headset. There's just no friction. And again, I think the gamer application is so interesting because, people, PC gaming has become big again.
Yeah, people like this stuff and they want, unique selling points. So we're excited about it. We think there's a future for this stuff.
So there's another company raised some money this week that we know less of because they are based in London. They're called Tactile, and they make AR-enabled work instructions for assisted reality and augmented reality enterprise devices. So that use case is not going away.
Yeah, we refer to this as the paint by numbers case, right? When you understand the concept of paint by numbers, you apply it to almost everything. How do you train better? Paint by numbers. See it, learn it, do it, right? And the idea of virtualizing that, creating simulation technology to do that is a huge thing. So,
yeah, they call their operating system, or I guess Manifest AR. So they've got their own brand that they're working on. Okay, here's a story that is really great, which is Jane's Defense Weekly coming to the rescue of the Army's IVAS, Integrated Visual Augmentation System, has informed us that 5,000 headsets are now being delivered in the field, which is kind of incredible because I think last time we talked about IVAS, we were writing its we were arguing about the inscription on its tombstone. But it seems that, well, the Army, by the way, to their credit, has always been enthusiastic about this and still is. Apparently, soldiers really like it. The reliability problems are overstated. They've offloaded a lot of the computing onto a puck, so it's lighter and can fit more like a visor. It's, pretty interesting stuff. And I think possibly, whether it works or not, it's going to push things forward. But if you combine the fact that Congress is kind of slow walking it and skeptical and slighted them in the current budget, and Microsoft's own problems with the HoloLens and the HoloLens team, it's not surprising that people have been writing this off. But if you see the pictures and you talk to the people in the Army, it's just so damn cool and such an obvious application that you got to believe something is going to come out of this that's going to augment.
Fighter pilots have been using heads-up displays in combat and in training for generations now, right? So the idea of a soldier on the ground using that same technology, that heads-up display, delivering all kinds of information, biometrics, and field data and all that stuff. I thought it was interesting when you mentioned that they've offloaded some of it to the puck. It reminded me that our friends at Magic Leap are doing a similar use case with Lowe's, right? So it's not the Army, but it's at scale, right? Lowe's is using these digital twins within Magic Leap to train how to look at stocking inventory. And it's almost the same use case, right? It's just how much information can you get up here to help that person do their job. Right?
Well, and of course, retail is an obvious situation where the worker needs to keep their hands free.
Correct. So it's just interesting. It's a similar touch point.
Yeah, but I mean, again, when you think about it, I mean, soldiers already got night vision glasses. They've already wearing a communication systems. I mean, a lot of this can be
they already got a lot
aggregated together, right?
Exactly.
So you can add a little more positional data, instead, call it an airstrike. I don't know. But if you're wearing it, your hands are free. And you got to believe that in a situation like an infantry would see, that is the number one requirement.
Absolutely.
So we had a story this week. I don't know if you remember, Walmart bought an AR company called Zkit last year.
Yeah.
And Zkit's technology has popped up on the Walmart app, where you can now do a virtual fitting, like take clothes that you're interested in and see them on. Right now it uses a model. So it's sort of like you're dressing a Barbie that maybe has your same body type. But now you can use yourself and it'll dress you. And apparently, I have not used it. I don't have the Walmart app, but apparently, it will be very bespoke, where the fabric will move. You'll see its texture, how it drapes on your measurements, which is, of course, the main thing people want to see when they're buying clothes. So I don't know.
That is one of those steps to the metaverse, right? Is that concept of using technology to replace something that we would do in the real world, go try on clothes. We saw this now, quite a while back, years ago, with Warby Parker, right, as one of the first to adopt the virtual try-on for glasses, because it's an easy thing, right? You can sort of take a picture of your face and swap the glasses on, and that's an early metaverse use case. And this is a extension of that, I think.
Yeah, so I think Walmart, of all the big retailers, you don't hear like of Target doing AR things or VR things. Walmart seems to be like Amazon, really leaning into the possibilities beyond the 2D screen.
Absolutely.
And I also think they're starting to think about their customers as being mobile first.
Well, and just when you understand the size and the scope of Walmart, the amount of customers that they touch on a daily basis, the idea that they can just capture a slight little audience that might be interested in this is actually at significant scale for them.
And I think it's just fishing where the fish are for them.
Right.
Especially given that their audience is sensitive to pricing. They're going to care about sales. Now they're the biggest grocery store in the world.
Right.
So, again, the opportunity to constantly be engaged with them via mobile, is huge, because they're already in this. If it's your grocery store, you're already there twice a week.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the parallel between like the 2 or 3 giants in the tech world, Microsoft, Google, Apple going in battle, in the retail world, it's really Amazon and Walmart. Those are the 2 big ones, right?
Yeah.
So Walmart needs to be more technologically advanced. They need to keep trying to do whatever they can to be as tech forward as possible, to compete against Amazon.
Yeah, and they've got Target and Costco, which are companies that are definitely in the game, trying to figure out what retail is really going to mean in the 21st century, and when are you going to really leave your house, and what has to incentivize you to do that. Certainly groceries, because freshness is such an issue, and my wife has done a bunch of virtual shopping because of the pandemic, but I really feel like I need to be in the store. I need that 3D interface to kind of remember what I want.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, here's an interesting little anecdotal story. I was driving on the way back from Vegas yesterday, and we stop in a place called Baker, which is like the halfway point where you charge the car. And there's a little gas station, kind of convenience store there, pretty low rent kind of place, right?
Yeah.
I go in there, and there's a guy with a Matterport camera, like a full-on Matterport. I'm like, hey, Matterport camera. Of course, I'm the only human probably
who will ever know what the hell he's doing.
Right? Yeah.
And also, the Matterport camera looks like it's surveying equipment.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a camera.
Yeah. But I see the logo. I'm like, so I talked to the guy for a little bit. He's like, yeah, we're doing this whole digital twin project for all these gas stations around various travel routes, because we're mapping efficiencies and we're learning what customers buy and how they move through the store. And the best way to do that is to build a 3D scan.
Honestly, I think Google is going to buy them, because I'll tell you why. Because Google has the digital twin of the exterior of the physical world.
Right. So
and Matterport has now the issue here. This gets interesting. Who owns? I mean, we know the exterior. There have been some legal claims to ownership of it, but it really are never going to fly. But the interior is a very private and privately owned space. So any public, quote unquote, public space, like a retail store, you have to have the cooperation of the owner. Otherwise, they're going to claim that you are using their asset to make money.
Yeah. So the question is, will Google make it so compelling, just like Google Docs and everything else that's Google, that says, we'll scan your store for free. You don't have to pay a penny for it. And they'll be
You
able
give
to
us the
deliver hardware.
permission.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. I mean, it goes along with this Lamina one, with the
Yeah.
not Lamina one, the thing that Matt Meisniks is doing,
Yeah.
where he's trying to take places in the physical world and make them accessible in the metaverse.
Digital waste stops. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. That's our show this week, Ted. It was a short one, but meanwhile, have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you back here next week.